had told me you were the most beautiful woman that he'd ever met. I didn't expect the most beautiful woman I'd ever met. Oh, I'm a lot like you. Just looking for an ass to mouth.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. George Clooney has not been doing great lately. He's been looking very feeble and a little, I don't know, under the weather, weak, thin, skinny, gaunt, refuses to shake a hand with one of his fans here as he slithers backstage for his Broadway show. That's what he's been reduced to, the once great actor, as Quentin Tarantino says, was never actually a movie star, one of the most least impressive people in all of Hollywood, somebody who doesn't even live in America anymore because, well, he's worried. That's right. He moved his family to a farm in France because he's worried. Why was George Clooney worried? Why was he worried right here around the time of the election? Was it that Donald Trump was getting back into office? George Clooney was worried that he was in the Epstein files. That's what many people said, and turns out to be true. George Clooney is in the Epstein files. George Clooney does have connections to Epstein. We're going to go through all of them right now, directly from the DOJ's own website. Here we go. And Clooney is something that Jeffrey Epstein was sending to someone. You asked to remind you about George Clooney. Confirmed for 12:30 tomorrow. Okay. So it looks like George Clooney's kind of in the zeitgeist here. Then we have other emails about George Clooney in Copenhagen with a smiley face emoji. What does George Clooney in Copenhagen mean? I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Asked Gianni if we could see the agencies on his behalf. Still no reply. Kiss, kiss. What? What does that mean? So it's Jeffrey Epstein emailing about George Clooney in Copenhagen, presumably, right? Talking about getting interesting girls in Copenhagen. Getting some agencies to bring them interesting girls. I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Clooney in Copenhagen. Still no reply. Kiss, kiss. Okay. Here's more. Can I have him use the same as George Clooney? This is from Jeffrey Epstein's email. Jeffrey Epstein emailing someone. Their name has been blotted out. In fact, what about George Clooney? Huh? Okay. Well, there's just a lot of commentary about George Clooney. This wouldn't be the first time that George Clooney's name has come up in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. George Clooney accused of sex act with Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, no. What is this exactly? Well, Ghislaine Maxwell apparently bragged about sexual encounters with George Clooney. Yikes. George Clooney was accused of a sex act with Ghislaine Maxwell. She's currently in prison, obviously, for sex trafficking. Maxwell is accused of recruiting young girls. Ghislaine Maxwell is accused of accusing young girls for Epstein. She performed a sex act on George Clooney. Sex slave Virginia Roberts had a manuscript of her memoirs released by a New York court. Her memoirs say that Maxwell constantly talked about her globe-trotting tryst that she made, where she went around with a bunch of Hollywood actors and actresses. Once she came back giddy as a schoolgirl with an explosion of news, all to build up the excitement in her voice. She was the crown. She'd given George Clooney a blowjob in the bathroom at some random event. And she kept talking about it and constantly talked about it. It's not known if the incident actually took place. Okay. I mean, we do know that other Hollywood actors at the time, the big-time Hollywood actors like Kevin Spacey, have regularly said and talked about their engagement with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's photos of Ghislaine Maxwell and Kevin Spacey on the royal thrones in England, actually. That Prince Andrew is completely and totally destroyed in these files, photos and videos of him leering and luring over women. And are they talking about George Clooney here? Here we go. This is the Prince Andrew. And they clearly had Prince Andrew dead to rights. So were they talking about George Clooney? Let's read. Prince Andrew swapped gossip with Ghislaine Maxwell about a female friend who'd been intimate with an actor named George C. A famous Hollywood actor named George C. Okay. Emails from the latest Epstein files have revealed. The day before Maxwell's birthday, the prince told the disgraced socialite that he has some gossip to pass on. He writes, I do believe tomorrow's significance to you. I spoke with Carol. She mentioned something about a man named George C. George C. was an actor in Hollywood. She saw Mr. C. at the premiere of a new movie. And indiscreet a bit, I don't understand. She said she got licky palm with him. Oh, gosh, what is licky palm? It's something I must try someday. These people are freaks. After George Clooney attended the London premiere of his directorial debut, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but it's unclear if George C. refers to him. Yeah, it's unclear if, like, it's unclear if this email about George C., the actor at his movie's premiere, is George Clooney. Okay, got it. Well, nobody wants to get sued, right? Goodness gracious. New Epstein files bombshell. George Clooney was in Copenhagen. In 2014, George Clooney was in Copenhagen, where Epstein appears to be visiting him, saying, I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Those are real emails. They're really on the DOJ website. Here you go. You can see that URL right there. They're on the DOJ website. These are real. Clooney shows up multiple times in the Epstein emails. Copenhagen has interesting girls. Clooney's name comes up more than once. Once again, Trump's loudest critics turn out to be the ones on the Epstein list. Ooh, well, hello, George Clooney. George Clooney. Yes, another massive Trump hater. George Clooney was in the Epstein files, talking about interesting girls in Europe. I mean, the emails are real. What happened there? I don't know. I'm not sure. Plenty of other scumbags in there, though. And again, wouldn't be the first time that George Clooney has been, mentioned by the Epstein inner circle, as it were. George Clooney's had a really rough time in the last couple of movie premieres and debuts. He's had $200 million flops. His Rotten Tomatoes is absolutely atrocious here. You can see here the tomato meter. Literally no good movies has been released by George Clooney. He is not a movie star. He is a kind of cringy political actor now with a bad hair dye job, who gets hounded and harassed by Fox News. This is kind of funny. And who has fled the country? I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope the Congress issues more subpoenas. Would love to know. Would love to know. It's always the people you most expect. It's your boy Benny. See ya.